Nice, nice. Okay, so my camera's kind of locked in. So, hey, good morning, everybody. This is David Grubb with Shepherd's Loft Web Design Agency, and I'm here today with Tracy Meisner from Meisner Media. Tracy, we've known each other for 20 years. It was way back in 2005 when we were working together doing video production, and I just want to say welcome to Shepherd's Loft, and want to take a second to just let you introduce yourself a little further.
Excellent. Thanks, David. Yeah, it seems like yesterday when we were working together, and I want to say it's longer than 2005, but um, yeah. So a little bit about my background. I used to own a video production company in Atlanta, Georgia, called Video Times, and did that for about 15 years. And in 2009, the market tanked, and I was offered a job to teach film and video at Alpharetta High School. And for 13 years, I did that. And in that time, I was voted Teacher of the Year for the entire country, for Video Teacher of the Year. I'm sorry, Video Teacher of the Year for the entire country. I became an Apple Distinguished Educator, one of only two video teachers. I helped my program win 32 Student Emmy Awards, which I'm very proud of, and created a kind of a huge group of well-trained students that are now, many of them are in the industry, and many of them I also tap into to use their services. In 2022, I retired from teaching, and we picked up our stuff and moved to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And for those of you who are in film, Winston-Salem is home to UNCSA, one of the top film schools in the country. Um, and so I retired on a Friday. We moved on Saturday. Monday was Memorial Day. And Tuesday, I was heads down editing in Meisner Media. And here it is. We're now approaching our fourth year, um, and the business has grown. And so here we are, and reconnecting with David. I'm honored to be talking to you.
Right. Thanks, Tracy. Um, I'm looking at our live video. So we are rotated 180 degrees on the video. So this is kind of interesting. So so I think what we need to do is we need to rotate to portrait so that our audience can see us oriented right side up.
All right, let me do that. Um,
There we go. So working with technology is always challenging, right? So
yes.
okay, now I can see that our preview is right side up. So, that's one thing that I learned from you from all those years of video is like if you can't hear sound, there isn't sound. And I think that's just so profound. Like if you can't see yourself right side up on YouTube, you're not right
uh,
side
yeah. Yes,
up.
this is true.
That's so
Uh,
awesome. Yeah, yeah, I know. It was 20 years. I was thinking of this morning. I was like, that just doesn't seem real at all. Time has just kind of flown by on us. And I know we both have families, so kids have grown up. Um, Business has kind of just, kind of transitioned. Technology has accelerated. All these things have happened to us,
yes.
like, in these 20 years. So I think that's just a great reason for us to get back together and just talk about some of these things. I love being an entrepreneur. I love coming up with the ideas. And I got the feeling that you do too. And there's so much that we've learned in this 20 years of trial and error. And I know you always used to tell me, that that you've tried every way under the sun. here's what doesn't work, here's what works. And I feel the same way.
Absolutely.
I try to listen to what you said, but it's still there's so many things there that you try and they don't work, and you got to learn from it and move on. So let's go back for a second. Let's reflect. Um, so when you had video times there, what was the most difficult old habit or mindset that you had to unlearn from that time period to be able to transition into the business that you're doing now?
Um, so the biggest thing I learned um, was when I moved the business to a retail model. Um, Anybody that's thinking about doing any kind of retail business in a retail shop, there's only one person that makes money, the landlord. That's it.
Yeah.
So anytime you're going to these small businesses, what they're doing is they're working for the landlord. They are paying the landlord. So that's the biggest thing I learned. The other thing that I learned is, I hate to say it, but I don't want employees. Not now, not ever. Occasionally, I'll hire a contractor for one-off projects. And in the past 4 years, I've done that about 4 or 5 times. And, fortunately, uh, those have been my former students. So they know what I'm looking for. They do exactly what I need. They get paid and they go on their way. So the things that I learned that I had to unlearn is, um, it's an old adage from my dad: watch the pennies in your business because the dollars will follow them. So if you're not watching all the pennies, there are dollars right behind those pennies that are going to somebody else, and they're not going to us. And I don't know about you, but I've got plenty of people in my pockets. You've got taxes, you've got insurance, you've got all these other things. So you want to minimize the amount of money that's going out. So the other thing that I learned, it's a hard lesson to learn, but it's a silent killer of small business, and that is cash flow. If you're not watching cash flow and predicting next month's income and outgo, you will soon be out of business no matter how much business you have. There are industries that are designed to help other industries in cash flow. So, for instance, factories. There are manufacturers that they can't afford to pay their employees because they're waiting on money. And there's an industry called a factor, and they will lend you the money to pay your employees, but they're going to charge you for it.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
money going out to somebody else.
Right.
So bigger isn't always better. So
Yes.
those are the things that I've learned. Also, um, don't be afraid to start your business or finish your business or do all your business in your house. I don't know. I mean, like you can see that I'm in what is kind of
Cool.
had a recording studio in the video studio. So I've got a control room, a podcast room, and a filming room. I also have a bathroom just for clients. It's a separate entrance just for clients. So it's a it's a great setup. So those are a lot of things that I've learned.
Right. Yeah, I totally hear you. My dad used to always say, mind the back door. The back door is
Yep.
the expenses, just like you said, that the dollars follow the pennies. Mind the back door. Just be aware of what you're spending money on and why you're spending money on it. So I totally get that, and I can empathize with that. So the next thing I want to kind of briefly touch on is, you talked about your close rate, and also you mentioned providing on occasion a free video. So what specific qualities are you looking for in a top tier prospect that tells you that they are worth that initial investment of your time and your craft?
They don't tell me, I figure it out. The number one thing that I look for in a company is the ability to pay on time every time. So there's not very many of those companies. And what happens is, and I I'm actually helping to coach a an entrepreneur in Scotland who believes that the next big thing in Scotland is social media content and management. And I was trying to tell him that those are two separate jobs. And he said he was targeting restaurants and hospitalities because their social media is really bad. And I told him there's a reason why their social media is bad. It's because they can't afford to pay a social media content creator. They also can't afford to pay a social media manager. Again, two separate jobs. So I look for the ability to pay. So, for example, um, there is a builder in North Carolina. They are the largest private home builder in North Carolina, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. And they have a bunch of different segments of their company. And one of the areas that I was dealing with is build on your lot. So the company has a division where if you owned land, they will build one of their spec homes on your piece of property. They also buy property, one off properties in Winston-Salem and around here, around the Triad area. And they buy the properties and then they market them to people to build their home on the land.
Yeah.
Um, so I went out with my drone, shot some video, um, made it look pretty, went into Chat GPT and I plugged in the model number of the house and I said, generate a 30-second script. It did that. I copied and pasted that, went into the script where I created a voiceover. I put the voiceover in Final Cut Pro and just laid the drone shots over. Put a little bit of a graphic on there. The whole thing was done shooting and editing about 35, 40 minutes of my time because the house was down the street from mine. Um, and they went, "Holy crap, can you do that on a regular basis?" So I worked up a payment schedule and I do 8 posts a month and I get a nice monthly check and they pay within 5 days.
Repeatable
Um,
business cash flow. Yes.
so I can go out and shoot, 3 or 4 of their properties and then like today it's raining in Winston-Salem. I'll edit them
Right.
because I can't go out and film
Right.
and I'll edit them and I'll have 3 or 4 of them done by lunchtime. Is it a big project?
Right.
No. Um, so that's an example. Um, be wary of the company that asks you to shoot something or produce something for free. They did not ask me. I offered them. If you get a company that asks you to do something for your resume, for your whatever, don't do it. Because if they're not going to pay you for the first one, they're not going to pay you for any of them. It's
Right.
just not. Um, and occasionally I will. Here's an example of one of my instances where I closed, but then a new factor kind of creeped in, which is scope creep. So a client reached out to me. They wanted to know what it would cost to produce a video for them of a seminar that they were giving. I went out there and they had some people speaking, but I went and I interviewed 3 or 4 people in the audience, got great testimonials, produced a slick video for them for social media. It was a 30-second video. Did it all for free. And then I came up with my price and I said, "This is what it's gonna cost." And they said, "That's great. Can you make instead of 1, can you make 3?" And I said, "I can make as many of these videos as you want. It's gonna cost you X amount of dollars per video." And they said, "No, we want 3 videos, but we want it for the price of 1." Um, no. Then they asked I finally got them to agree to pay for each video. Then they asked me before they signed the agreement, can I turn the video around in 24 hours? And I can't,
Right.
because I don't know what are, what I'm going to have in the future. Something I can't 100% deliver. So they started to creep up the scope. This
Right.
is the night before the shoot. They were still negotiating before they would sign the agreement.
No,
And
that's
at 9 o'clock at night, I hated to do it. I just said, "We are not in agreement. I cannot film and I cannot work with you." And they were A-okay with that. So they
right.
had no intention of working with me anyway. So that's a case where it didn't pan out. But usually it does. And I don't do it very, very often. I do it for clients that I know I'm going to get more repeat business. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's the key for me is repeat business.
So we've talked a little bit about just kind of predictability, cash flow, some of the warning signs of customers to be aware of, and
Mhm.
the free up. So, and you also mentioned using some tools, and I kind of want to dive a little bit more in there. Talk a little bit more about. I mean, you mentioned your workflow, but talk a little bit more about the types of tools that could help the average local business owner that just they don't have any budget, they have to do it themselves. What
Mhm.
can they do? Just the very simplistic thing, tools that they need, and what they can do to help their business.
All right. So, yes, the things that I use are tools. But for the small business owner that wants to create their own social media, I would $4,000, $1,000 for the lens, 50 to 60% of the videos that I film are on my iPhone. And I just upgraded to an iPhone 17. I've got my iPhone 13 right here that I didn't turn in because I can use it as a backup camera or a side camera. But oh, I mean, that's the tool for the people that are in the industry that are doing videos that are turning out a lot of content. I'm Last year I think we turned out over 400 videos. That's better than one a day, every day. Um, but out of that 400, sometimes I'm doing 10 and 20 a day. So if I go out on location for my big client, I'm shooting and editing 20 videos a day and getting them done. So the tools that I use are real simple. ChatGPT for script, uh, it helps me kind of not have to worry about everything. I just kind of put in my prompts. Um, I use the script for my voiceover, and occasionally, if I have a client that shoots their own video in their basement on their computer, I used a script to take out the backdrop and put in a new backdrop and also adjust their eyes so that their eyes are looking at the camera if they're reading from a script. I edit in Final Cut Pro. Is it the best situation? For me, it is because I can get in and out.
Uh,
So it doesn't matter what tool you use, as long as the tool that you're paying for is the tool that you're using.
right.
So,
Yeah.
um, when I went to buy Descript, my wife looked and she said, "It's like $400 a year." And she goes, "How often are you going to use it?" Um, I use it almost every day.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, I use it on location. I use it almost every single day. Final Cut Pro, I mean, I'm using the updated version, but I've been on Final Cut Pro since version 1.0.
Yes.
So I bought it for, I think back then it was like $100. Back I bought it in 1999.
Yeah.
And you had a CD and you ran it from a CD. And yeah, I've been a loyal Final Cut Pro guy for many, many years.
Right.
So
I think
those
I
are the
think there's a,
tools.
a there's a very valuable point that you're making here, and I just want to kind of clarify that so oftentimes, because so much of what I do is related to the websites, and there's thousands.
Oop, you froze up there. Hey, David, you froze up.
We're going to come back here. Okay, there we are. We're back. Um, so we were talking about just I don't know, it's just maybe a pause in the internet or Wi-Fi. Not sure. Um, So I mean the point you made was use what you're comfortable using. And so if you're a local business and you're out there and you're trying to enhance your social media presence and and build your brand, Just do use the technology that is comfortable to you. There's not one that's greater per se than the other. It's all about your knowledge of being able to use that tool, and the more comfortable with it you are, the easier it is going to be for you to be able to get in and out, to be able to create something and get through the process, which is a lot more important than trying to, okay, well, I have to use this tool, and then you get stuck, and then it takes you months or years to kind of learn and master and be able to produce anything. And that's not the goal. The goal is to get it done, really, and to be able to keep
It's
moving. So that's a
yeah.
really important lesson.
So like the script is an AI tool. Um, and how that came about was I had a client, and I wish I had a picture, but um, I do a lot of work with dermatology. Um, One of the reasons why is because pharma has money, um, a lot of money. And so I wind up doing these little $450 videos, but I'll do like, I don't know, 5, 6 him. And the client hired me, asked me if I could take out the background and move his eyes. And this was a year and a half ago. And I reached out to one of my former students who is making a boatload of money in AI. And I asked him, he said, use the script. And the learning curve on it was about 2 days for me. Um,
Mhm.
and once I learned it, um, I can change the background and change your eyes and adjust your audio in about 40 seconds. Something that would take me hours to do in Final Cut Pro. So I export that video out, I import it into Final Cut Pro, and then I do all the rest of my editing. So that's how that tool came about. So, um, I'm just like reading some of your
Yeah, yeah,
comments.
yeah. I was just okay. um, well, so yeah, I don't think it's relative to our conversation. Uh, s- but let's pause for a second. I mean, you've been doing video. I mean, we already established for over 20 years. Uh,
30.
what's the 30 years? What is but I've noticed this past year since you started Meisner Media, that's been going for 2 or 3 years now. What is the
Mhm.
passion that's driving you? What has kind of rejuvenated you at this period of time after 30 years? What has just really got you excited again about doing video and being in business as an entrepreneur?
Several things. One is, kids are out of the house. Um,
Almost.
and um, but here's the funny part is they're not very far. Um, the business has been so successful that we bought the house across the street from us, and our daughters live there. So they live across the street, and they're renting. Um, Seriously,
There we go. Yeah, I think we got disconnected
okay.
there for a second. Okay.
Um, yeah. Um, so One of the things that rejuvenated us is when I moved to Winston Salem. Um, David, if you my studio has rejuvenated because now I have a perfect place to do business. So I am in literally in a dungeon. There's no windows in here. Um, and it's a perfect studio. And then when I go to film, a client comes in, they send me a script, and this is the honest truth is they'll send me a script 30 minutes before they get here. I put it in the teleprompter. The camera is already set up. The microphone is in the ceiling. The lights are in the ceiling. I have a remote control. I press the lights. My lights come on, so I don't have to set anything up. I put an SD card in the camera. They come in, they do a 30-second stand up, either on green screen or a black background. They leave. I edit the video. It can be done before they get back to their office. And I just made 800 bucks.
Nice.
Um, and I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying the workflow is just when you have a place to do business
Yes.
that you're not having to constantly like move and reset up stuff. Um, it just reinvigorates. The other thing is, um, in business, you build relationships. So my biggest client is a dermatology group. And I got that job because a person who worked for me in video times in 1998, I he needed money really badly and I gave him a job and I helped him. And now he's head of events and he throws does these events for this big dermatology group. And so he said, "Hey, I saw on Facebook that you retired. Would you be interested in contract work?" And I said, "Yeah, I would." So he didn't know they at that point they didn't know how to send video to me to edit. So I turned them on to WeTransfer, which is a really robust video transfer site. They sent me video from Scottsdale and I turned it around in 1 hour. And he goes, I thought it was going to take 2 or 3 days.
No.
One day, I could either shoot it or edit. And he goes, well, how about you bring your camera and I'll hire a videographer and you can edit. And I said, nobody's touching my cameras. You know who can touch my camera? My wife. And he was like, okay, is she a good filmer? I said, one of the best. So I went upstairs and I told my wife, you're now a cinematographer. And she goes, what? She goes, I've said, well, I'm you.
Yeah. I think we got another lapse here. There we go.
Is that my it might be mine.
I'm not
Hold
sure.
on 1 second.
Okay.
All right. How's that?
Yes, it seems to be
Um,
working just fine.
okay. Um, so um, at any rate, Vegas was a huge success, and then they invited us to Hawaii, and they said, "Would you be interested in filming in Hawaii?" And I said, "Absolutely." And they sent me and my wife to Hawaii. Then they asked me if I wanted to go to Miami, and I said, "Absolutely." So that was 4 years ago, and um, it'll be 4 years. I'm sorry, it'll be 4 years in May.
May. That sounds about right.
Um, so here I am. I already had the business kind of up and running, but what also rejuvenated it is that my wife is heavily involved in the business.
Yeah.
So we I designed a business plan, and that's another thing that I recommend for any entrepreneur. Just know your numbers, write it down. If you say, "Oh, it's all right here," then it's not. It'll
It's
get
not.
lost. But I produced a business plan and entered it into a contest for the city of Winston-Salem, and we won. And I have a brand new MacBook Pro that I bought with the money. Um, because I had a desktop Mac and I needed a laptop. So when we went to Vegas, I went with a brand new MacBook Pro.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, so the business is, 4 years in. It's allowed us to travel. It's allowed us to buy another house. It's allowed us to fund our retirement. It's allowed us to do things that we didn't know that we could do. And so there's that passion there. You're always going to be passionate if your business makes money. You're not going to be passionate about it if your business is losing money and you have people knocking on your door that you owe. So
The
that's
wrong people.
yeah. Um,
So,
so
so
the making money while it's great, and anybody that says I'm not doing it for the money, yeah, you are. Um, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. 8 of it should be sleeping. 8 of it should be with your family and friends. You might as well pick one third of your life and enjoy what you do. And I love editing and filming. I love this. I love negotiating a contract. I love getting a check. I love when my clients love the video. I love that I have the ability to give back, not in terms of money, but in terms of talent and time. Um, and that's what it invigorates me. So, and I hope that your listeners, that when they're doing a business plan, the one thing that you really need to include in a business plan is a give back. And it doesn't have to be money, but give back to your community. It'll make you feel good. It'll help some people. And a company that just takes and doesn't give back is not a community member. So you want to be able to give back to your community. And that's my philosophy on business.
man, wow, so many good, great tips there. I think about the old analogy: stop and sharpen the axe. With your setting up your studio, that it's exactly what you've done. You took hit the pause button. You sharpened the process. You've kind of set that up to where it's just super easy for you to fall into that workflow and to be able to get things done. And I've been doing this for a while, and I want to just throw a quick pitch in there. Uh, I'm going to be offering what I call a custom strategic plan
Mhm.
for a low cost, and I've seen so many. And I come from this from both from the website and what you just mentioned about a marketing plan. And I look at a lot of websites and they don't really have, they're not telling the story, their branding is not there, their website is not going to convert because they're not having those pieces. They're not showing that they're a part of the community and giving back. And so we're going to offer a small strategic plan to be able to help the local customers be able to get that. I understand that sometimes you're starting a new business and you got $100 and you're starting from zero. This is kind of in the middle ground where maybe you got a few more dollars and you just need to kind of get more of a strategic plan. But it's super important once you get going and start building business to be able to just recognize, hey, these are the things that are working for my business. What can I do to build my office space? Get the right tools that are going to help me be efficient. You know, Build a budget. What do I need to do to budget to be able to afford those tools? How can I prepare myself and streamline my business to be profitable so that you can enjoy it and to be able to give back to the community? And man, so many great things there. I
Oh,
don't even
yeah.
know what to follow up with with on that.
Um, One of the things that I have seen, um, small business entrepreneurs, um, suffer with is you've probably heard the term paralysis of analysis.
Yes.
They're all the time saying, "I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna" I'm gonna means absolutely nothing in the real world. Um, when I had my students in my class and I made them produce a business plan and they would say, "I'm gonna," I, I would stop listening. "I'm gonna" means nothing. For a small business, start small. Don't don't go, I've got to wait till I've got this. I'm
Mm.
4 years in. I just redesigned my website because it needed redesigning. And every 6 months, I'm going to tweak that website. A website is never ever done. Just
Oh,
get over that. It's never done. It's good enough, but it's never done. And just do the work. Just like if you're a photographer, photograph. If you're a videographer, video, and learn how to sell it, learn how to take money. It's very, very important. Most of my students, whenever they'd go, "Oh, I'm in business with so and so, and we're going to do this type of business." And I pull out my wallet and I go, "Here's my credit card. I want to do business with you right now." And they go, "Uh, uh, I," and I go, "If you can't take money, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. A hobby doesn't make money." Um, so start small. That way, if you fail, you're going to learn something and you're not going to destroy yourself. Um, know your numbers. Know how much it costs to run your business. The number one person that you need to be able to pay is yourself. So if your expenses are $4,000 a month and your business brings in $3,000 a month, your business can't afford to pay its employees. You are an employee of your business. When you get a check for $1,000, $200 of it needs to go into a separate bank account to pay your taxes. It's not your money, it's
Yeah.
the government's money.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that the IRS can stop your business, you are dead wrong. They can stop any business, anytime, anywhere. All they have to do is say, "We think you owe us this much money. We're going to levy that and we're going to take your bank account." And that's the law. That's not something I just
Yeah.
made up.
This is
It's
brutal.
the
Yeah.
law. So be sure that you can do that. So if you're starting your business and your expenses are $4,000 a month and your business can generate $3,000 a month, that's a side hustle. And that's a perfect way to start your business is a side hustle. Um, Back when I started, we didn't know about side hustles. I didn't know about that. For me, video was I'm in the video business. Here's the business plan, and these are my target audience. This is now it's so much easier, especially in video, because we have the internet. When I started my business in 93, we didn't have the internet. Um, you
It was a
know,
baby.
it was, you know, and then we had dial up. So now, I mean, for me to do business, I do business across the country. I mean, my biggest client is scattered over Dallas, um, Denver, New York, and there's some other city that I do business with. My wife's business, um, she's doing business in China. So we're worldwide.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah. So hopefully I didn't muddy up the waters. I know um you know I love seeing some of these comments like why somebody puts um like tears
Emojis.
emojis.
Yeah.
Somebody asked why you have a camel flag. Uh
It's a sheep. It's a
it's a
sheep.
sheep, hence the name Shepherd's Loft.
Yeah.
Um
Hey, so where do you want to be? Is there more? Is there more vision? Where do you want to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years from now? What do you have any additional or higher goals than
yeah, there's several. Um One is we started a another company that is uh for rentals. So I know I'm old. I'm a boomer and there's going to be a time where I can't do this anymore. I don't foresee it in 5 years from now because I love doing this.
right?
Um But I think 5 years from now, I see myself as a business coach. I've already started doing it. I've got a client in Scotland, of all places, who wants to start a business, and he's convinced he's gonna do whatever, and I'm trying to reel him in to be realistic about his business. Um, my wife and I want to travel more. So we work like this week, we're just slammed. So we're going to be working um, all weekend and we enjoy it. But most times we're working 4 days a week. So we take Fridays off so we can go somewhere. Um, I want to help the entrepreneur. Um, I love working with young people who are just starting out. Um, I there's just so much I want to do.
Right.
Um, and I'm a lifelong learner. So like um this week I'm going to be learning 3D tracking because I have a client that I could make a lot more money if I know how to do 3D tracking. So that's going to take me about a week to learn. Um, I don't get paid to learn,
Right.
uh, but yeah, I want to also do more of this, more of
Yeah.
like you know, just talking, and hopefully somebody in your audience goes, you know something, I want to start a business. Is it hard? No, it's
Mm.
not. What if I fail?
But
If you're young, that's the perfect time to fail.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
when I started doing video, I had a wife, a house, and 2 kids, and I had never done video before. But I said I was going to be in the video business. Um, I I love doing. I mean, it's a hobby of mine that I get paid to do, which is pretty cool. I love doing that. So there's a lot of stuff I want to do. We are looking at property in Italy. I really, really, really want a small.
Oh, paused. Sorry, it looks like our connection is paused on us. Hopefully it'll come back here in a second. Oh, okay, there we are.
All right. Oh, I wonder what that. I mean, my
Yeah, not
internet
sure.
speed. I have gig speed here, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm way up in the mountains, so it could be that
ah,
connection, or
yep.
I don't know how stable that is. Well, man, I just want to wrap this up. I've really enjoyed catching up with you, Tracy. I think one of
I,
the reasons I feel like a kindred spirit, even though you've
yep.
got way more experience at some of these things than I do, but I really enjoy just the idea and challenge of helping of starting a business, being in business, being an entrepreneur. That's really what drives me. I think that's kind of my secret skill is just that idea and concepting and business development. And but I chose websites. I love doing websites. I love designing and building those. But at the
There you go.
core, I'm an entrepreneur, just like you and many others. And I do believe that we have a lot that we can share and give back, and this is one of the ways that we can do that. And so I've just really enjoyed this time together with you.
Yeah, me too. The fact that you're still doing what it is that you started off doing for so many years, you do it because you love it. You are you gonna get rich? You are in another way.
Right. Right.
I used to tell my students, when you graduate, you're gonna be one of 2 people. You're either gonna be working for somebody or somebody's gonna be working for you. You get to decide.
Right.
Um, and if you like taking orders from people, then you should work for somebody. If you don't have a thought of how to do something better, then you should work for somebody. But if you go, huh, we could do it like this,
Yes.
poof, you're an entrepreneur. That's all there is to it. Poof, you're an entrepreneur.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody ever goes, "Oh, I wanna be an entrepreneur when I grow up." No, just I wanna do this, and, um, there's no better time to start your business than right now, not 5 years from now, you'll be 5 years wasted time. Time is
Yeah.
something you and I can't ever get back.
Don't wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. When when you get experience under your belt, you look back. It's like man, this is wait time is so important. And if you're young and you've got some ideas, just go for it. Uh,
Yep.
because the really, I mean, I learned through failure. I remember you used to tell me all the time. It's like I have failed at everything. Here's all the ways not to do it, and here's one way
Right.
that works.
Yep. And
Yeah.
and everybody has to do that. Everybody. There isn't a business I know that you're not gonna fail at somewhere down the line. You're gonna trip and fall. You just pick yourself up. The only business that I would ever tell people never to go into is owning a restaurant or a bar. Um, my parents used to tell me, "Don't ever do that." And they had reason to tell me that because they owned a restaurant and they owned a bar and they lost money, a lot of money, and they lost time.
Mm.
So business doesn't have to be glamorous. Just if you love what you do, man, that's rich. That's rich.
Yes. Yeah.
If your kids could help you in the business, that's rich. If your wife can help you in your business, that's rich.
Yeah.
It's not all about the money. It's
Right.
about, you got a life to live. Enjoy it. So,
Thank
cheers to everybody out
you.
there.
All right. Thank you, Tracy, again. And we're going to sign off, and hopefully, I'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
See you later, everybody.
Take care. Bye bye.